Today we have the pleasure of having Shyam Kumari with us, and I look forward to the many recollections that you'll share with us. Can we begin with asking you when you first came to the ashram?
Firstly, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. First, I came to the ashram on 19th February 1959.
And when did you first see Mother? Shortly after that?
That very same day.
That same day.
Because Mother came out, so I saw her on the balcony, I saw her in the playground. At 15 up to 60, she was going to playground, and she was coming for meditation, giving meditation in the meditation hall. So I saw her 3 times that very day, or 4 times even.
And when did you first meet her alone?
That I don't remember. Maybe I went to her one of my birthdays later, much later.
Uh-huh. And did you have much correspondence with Mother?
Much is a very relative term if you compare with Huta, etc.
Oh yes, well we won't do that.
No, maybe, yes, I had.
I see.
And I am lucky. She chose to place a great burden on my shoulders, and only I used to say, things which have happened to you do not happen in this ashram. So my many problems, she always listened to patiently, while other letters she refused to. And right up to May 73, she answered my letters. I wrote her 11 letters from my class. I was taking a class here in Flower Room, and I encourage children, instead of writing compositions on butterfly or cycle or road or library, to write prayers and letters to the Mother. And those we sent to Mother through Nalnida, and she loved them.
Tell us some of your remembrances of Nalinida.
Oh, there are so many.
We can have many recording sessions with you.
About Nalnida, I want to, just now before the camera we were talking about this world situation at present. So about that I want to record something which not many people in the ashram know. I used to come to Nalnida twice a day for years, and in the evening.
No, look to that camera.
Achha. In the evening, when he went to a sports ground, he would stop his car for a moment in front of my house. I lived on the first floor. It was Mission Street, right, and at the end a very imposing house. And I used to weave garlands for him, small jasmines. It took me 1 hour to make one foot garland, and I would give it to him. Then in the evening, no, I would make it, wait for him, do pranam. He will bless me from the car and drive on. Then at night at about 7, I don't remember exactly, it would be dark. I used to go to him for a last time pranam. And we were talking about the possible distraction just now before the camera. In this context, I want to share with you some very poignant and rather sad reminiscences with Nalnida. Before, it's a very personal thing, that before retiring, Nalnida would put some eye drops, and then he had to keep his eyes closed for some time. So I generally went before he put his eye drops, and he waited for me patiently. It was my good luck and his graciousness that he waited. One day I became late. and he was waiting outside in the outer office. Then he would go to inner room. Then he asked me, "You are late today." I parried his question and I said, "Today I read 3 of your articles." Nandita was laconic, very economic with his words, at least with me. Clipped sentences, few words. He asked, "Which ones?" I said, "End of a civilization, On the Brink, and What's to be Done." I think What's to be Done was later. I said 2 articles. Then suddenly, as if a darkness descended in his room, I mean, not the normal darkness, very concentrated darkness descended. And he said, I asked him, there was not much need of words between us. I asked him, "So, is there no hope for this humanity? Because these 2 articles tell of the impending end of humanity." He said, "No, no. This humanity has become so corrupt, it is bound to go." Then 2 or 3 days after this, again I was late, and first I would give him that jasmine garland, and there was, apart from Animadi, there was another lady, Nirmala, who attended on him. So he would call Nirmala and give her the garland. I didn't know where she put the garland. Then one day I again reached late, and he was sitting already on his bed, and then I gave him the garland, and he gave it to Nirmala, and he said, then I understood the garland was put in front of the Durga image in his room. And he said, "You asked me about humanity." First he said, "Have you seen my Durga? She is an angry Durga. You asked me about humanity. You pray to Durga to say for humanity." I caught hold of his feet and said, "I pray to you to save humanity." This went then for several years. On his birthday and my birthday, I never asked for anything for myself, my soul realization, or the aspirations we have, all of us sadhaks. I asked, save humanity, because I love the world and humanity very much. Even the sick, the poor, the liars. It's such a beautiful creation of hers. So I prayed to him to save humanity. My birthday and his birthday. On his last birthday, which is on 17th January 1984, I gave him as usual my letter with this prayer. He put it under his bed pillow. He read them later when he had. There were always people around him. Maybe he wanted others not to see my prayer. Anyway, next day I was called from the school to see him, and I think these 3 very close young men, Arun, Samyoda and Adinath, they were standing beside him. They had come from Calcutta, Pat Mandir, for his birthday. And he said to me, it was understood, it was apropos of my prayer, "The true will remain." And then he wrote under that, Amen. But after this birthday, that was 17th January 1984, a few days after that, no, this year before he gave a talk, sometime, I don't remember the date just now, I can find out, in Bengali, which was translated in English, What's to be Done. I'm revealing something sacred. To me, it's sacred. So, naturally, I heard Nalida gave a talk in Bengali, and I don't know Bengali, and it has been translated in English. So, I asked him, I want to read that. And people were asking him, getting him reading. And he refused. And I was hurt. But anyway, after a few days, I asked again. Then Anima spoke in favor of me. She said, everyone is reading in Bangla, Sabah to padve. Everyone is reading, why don't you give to her? He said, yes, now she can read it. And friend, I assure you that after reading that talk, for 7 days I saw the world during midday also dark. Then I understood there was such a force in that, and I am so open that as a grace he didn't allow me to read it earlier till it was diffused a little. This is one of the chapters.
And the other two, can you tell us about those other two writings of Nalini that you mentioned?
No, this first one is his transcription of Mother's talk, End of a Civilization, and second is On the Brink, in which he has written this. And he has also mentioned sadly that Ashramites will destroy each other like the Yaduvanshis of old. And he said the greatest destruction on the earth will be in the ashram. Because ashram was a scaffolding to bring down the supramental power, it has descended. And now it's when the building is ready, the scaffolding is taken down. But I don't want to end on this very sad note. One day I asked him, do you give, I will tell you later on the whole episode about how I translated whole of Savitri in Hindi. But in that context, when I started translating Savitri, that story I will tell later on, but something in that context he said, which will end on a happy note, the episode I mentioned earlier. So people asked me to give them, it got around that Shyam Kumari is translating Savitri. Kokilji, Vidyavati Kokil had already translated. But Madanlal Himasinka ji asked me, then let me publish your translation into Action, Sri Aurobindo's Action, his journal. His journal means from the, Shyam Sundar was the editor. I asked Nalnida. He said, no, translate, but don't publish. I said, not now, after 30 years. He said, no. Then I think in this context he said, or some other context, I am confused, but one day he said, mention 200 years. I asked him, do you give this humanity 200 years with the background of that conversation? He said, yes. So at least from 84, let us say, 200 years, he said yes.
In the early days, the disciples of Mother would embrace the young students, and Ushaben has told us much about that, how they all looked up to them, and how the older disciples gave so much to the children. Do you remember some things about that in the school?
I mentioned earlier that we wrote, when you asked about correspondence, that we were writing letters from our class. When I came here, my son whom mother has named Kim. He was only 8 years old. And somehow I came into the ambit of Krishna Kumari ji, who was in charge of Progre. That is the age group 8 to 13 or so. And she gave me classes there, and I very willingly took, because I said, being a mother of an 8-year-old, I can understand their psychology better. And I loved them so much that some of them even now tell me, I had forgotten, my son remembers that every Sunday you called us home, made puris and pickles. We each got 2 puris and pickles, and we will put on your dressing gown and hide under the bed. I gave myself totally. But something miraculous happened, which I will like to share with you.
Yeah.
Something very beautiful. You know, those were golden days. I had come recently to the ashram. The mother was there. Everything seemed heavenly, was heavenly, not only seemed. So my classroom was just the opposite the ashram gate, the corner room, where you take a turn. And it has a big window opening on the ashram street. So one day, 7:45 class, I was a good gardener, if you remember. I was close to Parichand, and outside world I had some remarkable success with flowers without any botanical knowledge like you have. Just a 3 rupee Pochas garden guide, soil, love, and we achieved remarkable results. For example, the zinnias I grew were the biggest in Asia at that time. For 3 years, by common sense, I did seed collection, and they were 9 inches across then. So like that, I had a close rapport with flowers, and some people used to call me lady with the flowers. I naturally gravitated towards Parichand and Abhay Singh, the gardeners of the ashram, and mother said, what you need absolutely is given to you. I was hungry for flowers. They would give me basket full of flowers. Every day I sent to mother 3 or 4 times, took to Samadhi. And that day, one particular day, I don't remember the date, it's there very much. I put a golden rose in my hair, came to the classroom. It all just happened. Mother made me a teacher, but I had never taught, except once in a village school, toddlers for 1 month who requested their teacher was not there. I had never taught, and she made me a teacher. So and as luck or bad luck would have it, I was given a class, Arvind, which had Telugu speaking, Tamil, Udiya, Bengali, Marathi, and maybe one more language. They were coming straight from kindergarten. They didn't know English. And I was coming from outside. I didn't know French. In which language to converse? Hindi was not so well known as it is now due to films and film songs. How to tell them stories? For example, you know our great friend Bhrata Reddy. Now he is such a fine young man. He could not formulate one sentence, my father's name is Damodar Reddy. Their English was so poor. They could talk in French. So anyway, that day of grace, I came from the Samadhi, took a golden rose from Samadhi, put it in my hair, Tamil style, and I went to the class, and a ray of sun was coming through that window. It was coming straight from the ashram, from the mother, I feel, because what happened that day, I will show you those things. And there was a girl here at that time, 5-6-year-old, one of the most beautiful girls I have ever seen. Her name was Unmukta, and she had golden complexion, and she wore a golden frock that day. And without any thought for what I was going to say, without any preparation, in half a trance. I came from Samadhi. I said, children, look, Unmukta's frock is golden. This sun ray coming inside is golden. Let us meditate on gold and golden. I never meditated before with those children, but children, they love anything which is not connected with books. So in like little Buddhas, they sat with their eyes covered, which they had learned here palming, and started meditating. I don't remember, it was for 5 minutes or 15 minutes. The period is 45 minutes, but it was an eternity in itself. So when I opened my eyes and they all straightened, I asked them, what did you see? Just casually, I didn't expect them to see anything much. But they started speaking together such beautiful things. I understood something extraordinary has happened. I said, stop, one by one. And then each one I wrote down the name and age. They were 6, 7 or 8. And they told such beautiful things. The boy who could not say, my father's name is Damodar Reddy, or this is an elephant, he has 4 legs. They spoke such beautiful English and such beautiful content. Mother is talking like, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, not R, is talking like silence. So if you ask God for gold, He will give you so much gold you will drown. As if they were rishis. I noted it down. I had my partner teacher Vasundhara. We got some handmade paper. We wrote it down. Gave it to Kirit Bhai to take it to the mother. Now the difference between Nalnida and Kirit, I'll tell you. For us ordinary mortals, including Kirit, problems are more important. For Nalini, accomplishments are more important. This I realized when he told me about my Savitri translation. Show me the things which you like best. In your translation. Not ask me when you have any difficulty. No. Show me only the portions you like best. So Kirit had so many problems of his school that he carried that folder to the mother. 1 whole year passed, he could not put it to it. And one day I went there and his secretary Mohini, I said, Mohini, please give me back that folder. And I just went to Nalinida's room. He was in his outer room dictating something to Shatadal, his secretary. And I was not intimate with Nalnida later, as I became later on. Just sort of feeling embarrassed, I just took that folder, put it on his lap, and without saying a word, looked at him and came out. Just like that. Then next day, Shatadal told me that Nalini told him, look at the beauty of silence. All was said and understood in silence. So, he took it to the mother. And next day, mother wrote such a big blessings on it. And Nalini said, Mother appreciated your work. That's the only thing I have attained in this life, in my sadhana. Nothing else. That once she said, appreciated my work. After that, next day we repeated that same experiment with peace and quiet. And again the results were same level. And these two together we gave first to Kirit and then through Nalini to mother. They are with me, my precious possessions. After that I asked the children to write on their birthdays letters to the mother. And they wrote, and we would give to Nalnida the day before the birthday. He would read them to the mother. The lucky ones were Bhrata, then there was one boy, Ishit, I think. 3 or 4 were lucky in this way. And then mother would give them back that letter. Then I think Sarla, Daruwala. These were the 3, 4 whose letters went. Then we started playing games that we will meditate. I told them, what you think, I think. Right. Tell me what I saw, what I imagined. So many of these things we wrote to the mother, about 11 letters, and up to May Nalni Datu. In those days they were putting on the board, mother is unwell, she will not see anybody today. Mother is. So one day I gave a letter from the class, and I went to the ashram to meditation hall. Nalini looked at me questioningly. I just thought mother is unwell, so the letter must be with him. I was passing by him, and then he said, well? I said, what? You gave a letter? I said, yes, but mother is not well. He said, no, she has seen it, come and take it. And he gave it, and something afterwards my English classes were taken away from me. As he said, things which have happened to me have not happened in this ashram. So we continued in my Hindi classes. And mother left her body. Up to May she saw these English things. This is started in 71 up to 73, this classroom experiences of grace of the mother. But after that we wrote in Hindi. And you know, neither Champaklal ji nor Nalnida, they knew Hindi but not well. But they took those letters which we wrote in Hindi up to 78. Then I stopped, because even my Hindi classes were distorted. So they took those letters, sat in front of the mother's chair in her room, second floor, and read them out loud to her, both of them. This is the...
Do you have memories of Pavitra?
I had a very small connection with Pavitra, luckily, but I mean, I joined in 68. This 69, 22nd January, mother accepted me, and 69 Pavitra left his body.
Oh.
So only my connection was that when I came in 1959 and 1960 again, then Ravindra ji gave me work of painting trays from the fruit room. You know, fruit room upstairs? It's a nice thing I want to tell you. I told you, 59, 19th February or 20th February. I'm not absolutely certain. I had the mother's balcony darshan. And then mother, before she came out in the balcony, she would stand on the west facing door of the room, where Anuben used to wait in the doorway of fruit room. Mother looked at people working inside the building before coming to balcony. And I didn't know how to aspire high enough. To me, I didn't know mother will come down. That was the first day. So I thought, oh, how wonderful, this lady is so lucky. She is standing where mother stands. I had no idea of ashram life or anything. And very next day I was giving work for several hours sitting on that terrace. This is how all simple aspirations are fulfilled, but I didn't know how to aspire properly. I could have asked for higher things. Anyway, that was a great good luck. And Pavitrada used to bring his small basket or dish for fruits to fruit room. He empty, and Ravin would put some fruits as for everyone, and he would collect later on. So he would remark every day, so Ravin, how is our painter? That's how the connection I had with him.
And any of the others, like Amrita?
Amrita had a he was one of the most humorous disciples of the mother. And I had such beautiful remembrances of him, 3 or 4. When I came in 1963, that was the third visit. Before that, we had a dacoity in our home. Dacoits, 10 or 12 dacoits with big guns came, broke into our house. That's another thrilling story. And looted us. And my son Kim was 1 month old. I had returned with him from my mother's place where I had gone for delivery and brought him back. And after 3 days, there was a dacoity. And you are making me laugh, the memory of what Amrita did. So anyway, by mother's grace, there were so many things that we didn't die. Those guns remained silent. They looted us. All right, doesn't matter. They took my most precious possession. That was this 1960, that symbol mother gave on the first anniversary. That also they looted along with wealth, because I had put it in a satin box and surrounded with a topaz necklace that I had, because it was so beautiful. Anyway, so afterwards I wrote everything to the mother. And mother sent me 2 or 3 letters, asked Ganpat Ram, who was our conduit. She said, it must be pursued, pursue it, make full effort to recover the things. We did, and we were informing of the progress to the mother. And then one day what happened, a sub-inspector found out which village the villagers came to loot our house. He went there, but he went with only 2 constables, and the robbers beat him. Now the village was of scheduled caste people, and the superintendent police and the district magistrate of that district were scheduled caste. It became a big political issue. And we wrote all this to mother. Mother said, now let it go. So now we come back to Amrita. Then I had written to the mother. When they broke open our bedroom door, by mother's grace, I picked up my son and we rushed into the bathroom, and by the time we latched it from inside, they were beating at it, but they didn't disturb us because they found all the cupboards open, everything. So robbery is one thing, but murder is another. They had not come to murder us, but they would have murdered us if we had been in the bedroom. They can't leave witnesses. They threatened us, shouted at us, but didn't murder, because we sit in the bathroom quietly for 1 hour till they looted it in peace. And I told my husband, he said they will take away everything. I said, you are with me. You are priceless. What do we care for all these things? We can get them again. See, we were very young. So things mattered, not like now. Then, when I came here, priceless as one word becomes, the meaning is that you are most valuable. But if you make it 2 words, you are priceless. So Amrit said, I read your letter. You are the girl whose house was looted, something he told me. I read your letter to the mother. No, I told him enthusiastically whole of the story, because it was only 2 years back that it happened. And then next day he told me, I told mother that you told your husband that he is priceless. He was always joking, but he was a very helpful person in this way that he took 2 or 3 letters of ours to the mother. First thing I would like, because it connects mother and me and my son. When we came here, my son was first 3 years old in 63 because mother didn't see children below 3 years. They were not allowed in the ashram. So I brought him when he was, that was in 64 January when he was 3 years old. And he was very afraid of sea. Even during the day he would not look at the sea. It was this 64, this 64 visit happened the priceless incident with Amrita. When I brought him when he was 5 years in 65, then he wrote a letter to the mother. Mother, I am afraid of the sea. What should I do? I gave his English was very good since childhood. So I gave that letter to Amrita, and it was a Saturday, and he was so afraid of things that we didn't go to cinema. He never saw any film. That letter will come next. I'm telling you after this incident. And from Saturday after dinner, early dinner because of film show, we came to Amrita Das room and he said, the mother has said, the sea is nice, the sea is beautiful. Don't be afraid of the sea. And at once, Naraji, will you believe it? My son said, it was night, take me to the sea. All fear gone. Then when in 68, in this context, another letter which Amrita took, which was very important in our life, my son, since childhood, he could not bear any violence of any sort. If a child slapped another child or pushed down, he would get fever. Of course, he never hit anybody or was never hit by anybody. I don't know who he was in his last life, but he stepped on my 6-inch thick lawn. I had a lawn 6-inch thick. He never stepped on it without shoes and socks. His clothes never got dirty. And once if you remember, there was an old film, these magnificent flying men in their magnificent flying machine. The early aeroplanes, the breakdown made of canvas and plywood. So we thought he will enjoy it and he must see a film, and we took him by force to see that film in Lucknow. And there he pleaded with us that take me back, I cannot bear. So we brought him back. So he had never seen a film in his life till he came here. Now, in those days, Wilfie used to decide about the films, if you remember, and all the children sat on the stone bench. For them, it was a big scoop to know from Wilfie which film is coming and all that. So I had nobody in the ashram who was my family or friend. And I had to be with Kim. So after dinner on Saturdays from dining room, we would go to playground and he would watch the trailers and the names, etc. And then we would go home. He could not watch a film. But the children discussed, Wilfie has told us, tomorrow this film is coming and that will thing happen. And he felt left out. So he wrote a letter, I remember exactly his words. Mother, I cannot bear sorrow or violence especially in films. What should I do? And then this Amrita told us. And mother gave maybe blessings, or just he said, Mother has said this. And you know, that day was one of the bloodiest films, the Battle of Bulge, they were showing. And as usual, we went there for him to see the credits or trailer. And after that he said, Mummy, I want to see a little more. And I had seen this film before and I liked it very much. Now it may seem dated, but then that was 42 years back. So I was very happy, and he watched whole of the film just 1 minute after receiving that message from the mother, and after that the bloodier the better. So, this is how these are some of the interactions I had with Amrita, which have great bearing on our life. But he was the naughtiest thing. He said, I told the mother that Shyam Kumari told me her husband was priceless.
So Shyam, can you tell us what you were doing before you came to ashram and what brought you to the ashram? How you heard about Mother and Shyam?
That is a rather a long story. Let me start from the abstract to the concrete. I was always, as Mother said, in all our lives we have been together. So in this life I was consciously searching for her from the age of 3. This I know because in those, our house was permeated with religion. 365 days, at least we had 360 religious festivals, and on very big scales. For example, we lighted 1,000 lamps in our house on Deepavali. So 1 month before we will start hand rolling the wicks. For 1 month there was Ram Leela, each day one incident of Ram's life. There was so much fasting and feasting. So God was never a abstract thing for us. Ram and Krishna, they were intertwined with our life. And actually my great-grandfather, the devotion was so great in those days that he, one day while going to temple at 4 a.m., he had the darshan of Sri Ram and Sri Arjun, both. And my other maternal grandfather, he lived the life of Vanprastha for 50 years in Rishikesh. And he taught me Shat Darshans, the 6 philosophies at the great adult age of 9. But those are wonderful things. I will leave with you this one if you want to read. So at the age of 3, we used to go to Ganga fair. On the banks of Ganges, there was a fair at Garhmukteshwar. The fair took 7 days to break. For 7 days there will be no unbreakable line of bullock carts who left. At least 1 million people came. And we were well-off people, we had tents. Others lived under their bullock carts. So there used to be a market there selling all the images of gods, peacock feathers, then sandalwood, etc. Things connected with worship. And in the evening I asked my mother, I want to buy God. So she took me the first shop and I asked. Those shops were made with upside turned string cords and some planks nailed to them. Everything was very simple, no electricity, only some kerosene small lamps. So he showed me enthusiastically the images of all the gods he had. I said, no, I want living God. So I forced my mother that 1 kilometer to take me to every shop asking for Sachmuch ke Bhagwan, true God, living
And
God.
how old were you then?
3.
3.
So the quest started then. Then the only thing I heard about mother was, our whole family of Shrikanta, this hero, there's something unbelievable. I think it's from the same street, from the same school, 7 of us are in the ashram of a small city, are or were. Some have died. Sarla Rastogi, she was a teacher in that school. Sarla ji, Poojalal ji Sarla, she was 1 year my junior. Hero's sister, Shrikanta, was 1 year my junior. Pipi's mother, Pipi, she was a student of this school. So like that, at least 7 or 8 teachers and students of one school. 4 sisters, Hero, Aditi, Shrikanta, whom mother named as Puar, and Shashi. 4 these, myself, Pipi's mother, 6, Sarlaji, Poojalalji, 7. 7 students, 2 teachers from that one small school. I don't think it has happened for anyone. So I had a friend who lived opposite the house of Hero, and she would tell me, in their house today is darshan. So I was with tiny girls and flowers for my life from childhood. So she said, I have to take this generosity to their house. We call it Gul Mehndi. I took Gul Mehndi to them. So this is stuck into my mind, that there is some darshan where my friend Sushila takes flowers. That is the only thing. Then I had an experience on 5th December 1950. But before that, yes, I had once I was 13 or 12, I had gone to Delhi to visit my maternal uncle. And he went to dinner to his friend's place, and I also went there with him. I accompanied him naturally. And there a lady from the ashram had come. Now I have forgotten her name. And she told me 2 incidents which I remember even now, say after 60 years, more than 60 years. She was talking of ashram. Naturally, she was an ashramite. And she said that one day I was cutting vegetables in the dining room, and suddenly I remembered I'm late for darshan because mother used to give meditation in the meditation hall. So I was cutting brinjals, my hands were colored, and I ran, and when I came, they were doing pranam, and mother caught hold of my hands. She understood, and she told another incident which just now I can't remember. So that left some indelible, I never forget, but who that mother was, more I didn't know. Then on 5th December 1950, I did my graduation at the age of 16. So suddenly it was announced that there is a condolence meeting. Sri Aurobindo has passed away, and all the students and teachers are requested to come to the hall. And their professors spoke about Sri Aurobindo. I knew hardly anything. One of the freedom fighters, maybe. That's all. And when I came out of the hall, even now I can see that there was a hedge of lantana with golden berries and tiny purple flowers. And suddenly I saw hundreds of small white butterflies on it. And I had this feeling, the words came into my heart. Today there is so much light in the sunlight. And it was only 9 or 10 winter in there. The sunlight is quite diffused in winter in North India. So this was now I understand it was an experience. And after that, how I came is this, connected with my college life. that after I passed my BA at the age of 16, my father opened a high school, a higher secondary school and a college only for me, so that we could be educated. There was only middle class, that is up to class 6 for girls. He upgraded it, then he opened a degree college so that boys and girls could be educated. And after that, the university refused to give postgraduate courses for 3 years. After a college has become a degree college for 3 years, then they allowed postgraduate classes. And father family was very orthodox. They wouldn't send me to a boarding house, and I wouldn't accept private tutors. They said, MA, there is only one subject. We will employ a whole-time professor as we have employed for this college, and you can do privately. So we had a tussle and I refused to. So they were looking for a bridegroom for me, their rebellious daughter. And then India had become independent only 3 years before, and 560 or 600 these Indian states, they were merged into India. So there, one of them was Tihri Garhwal, and there was a king, but now the administration was in the hands of government. And the district magistrate there was, Radha Maheshwari. Her father was district magistrate there, and Radha was studying here then. And my uncle, who is now a great guru, he was the district engineer there. And there were no roads. There were 4 great pilgrimage places in that district. Gangotri, from where Ganges comes out, Yamunotri, Badrinath, Kedarnath. So they made a plan for pilgrimage together as one family to Gangotri and Yamunotri. And I had nothing to do. I was cooped up in the house after a vibrant college life. So I accompanied my auntie. And there Mr. and Mrs. Maheshwari, who are devotees of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they talked. Mrs. Maheshwari, with whom I walked 500 kilometers, she incessantly talked about Mother. And then and there I decided, because Mr. and Mrs. Maheshwari are. Mrs. Maheshwari is alive, she came last month. They are extraordinary people. From the age of 30, they are living celibate life. And for me, with my religious background, celibacy had great, significance. So I admired her no lot. For me, she was incarnation of some goddess. So I thought, if she is so great, how great must be her guru, the mother. Sri Aurobindo had left his body in 50, and this was in 51, just after my passing. So when I come back from the mountains, we were walking. I will steal 200 rupees from the Elmira and I will run to Pondicherry. So I took this decision, then and there. It would have been disastrous. Mother was... So on the last day of the journey, we were staying in the beautiful guest house of Tihri, the king of Tihri. Bhilangana river was flowing below. The rock on which Sri Ram Tirth took his samadhi we could see. And Mrs. Maheshwari was cleaning her little suitcase. We were allowed only 4 dresses. The trek was so strenuous, though there were a whole retinue, 4 horses, 4 palanquins, 50 servants, but we had to be very sparing with our luggage. So she was cleaning her suitcase and she said, they all knew that I read voraciously, 4 books a day for years I read. So she found a booklet, Words of the Mother, which she had earlier discovered I would have read on the journey. I was starved for books. So I opened it I remember candles burning in that. There was no electricity then. Most beautiful 5 feet doors and windows with silk curtains. A king's guest house. And there I read the mother's word. Do not come on this path out of admiration for anybody. And there is do not come, and come only when it is the call of your soul. I stood like a statue. How she stopped me from disaster. And I realized that I was going out of admiration for Mrs. Maheshwari, and I didn't know what my soul is. So I don't know the call of my soul. So I postponed eloping to Pondicherry. Went home, was married, lived married life for a few years. And suddenly I had great vairagya. Because riches, name or fame, emotional love, even what to say of sex, beauty, power, nothing interested me. What then? What then? I used to ask myself, what if it happens? Suppose my husband attains the best he can reach, highest. What then? If I become as beautiful as a goddess or Marilyn Monroe or whatsoever, or President of America, what then? This was the question. Then I will have children, they will get old, I will get old, I will die. What will I achieve? Then I delve into religion. But moksha, I don't want moksha. Because I love this world, I want it to be perfect, I want everyone to be happy. My idea of happiness at that time was that there should be nobody poor, everyone should be well clad, well housed. And I became communist for some years. Some years means by the age of 15 I was back to spirituality. At 13, 14, then I read a book by Prince Kropotkin, which communists become a busted god. Then through altruism and philanthropy, I hope to change the world. And my husband was studying for his Master of Engineering on deputation in Roorkee University. The social service had become fashionable. India had been recently independent, liberated. So the Vice Chancellor's wife, Mrs. Khosla, and Pro-Vice Chancellor's wife, Mrs. Katpalia, went for social service to a village and took me also. And they are sitting on the string cord in a villager's house. I had a revelation that changed my life. I realized that if we give food, clothing, education, housing to everybody, nothing will change. Because the problems of the rich are worse than the problem of the poor. And Ashok and Harsh gave away a whole of their treasuries, nothing has changed. So this last aim was gone. Only thing I loved was India and humanity. India was already independent when I was 13-year-old, except shouting some slogans and going in some processions. I had no chance to fight any battle. So what to live for? I don't want anything. All that the world can give, the power and riches of the world are too small and cannot quench the spirit's sacred thirst. This I knew then. All that the world can give is too small. So what to live for? Then I told my husband that you please allow me to go to Pondicherry, because that old stamp was there. But I was in contact with Mrs. Maheshwari, read some small books. So you send me there. If I find something worth living there, I will live. Otherwise, I will come back and commit suicide. I don't want to live in this stupid, aimless world. So he put me on a train. Mother saved me. When it was 4 nights, 3 days journey. And how mother saved me, I didn't know that Egmore was another station. But she arranged, it's a thrilling tale. Can I tell you for a few minutes how I reached here safely? So my husband put me on a train from Haridwar to Delhi, evening. Morning, Mrs. Maheshwari was there on the station. Delhi, they were in Delhi, posted Joint Finance Secretary, Government of India. They put me on the train to Chennai. But neither they nor I had the foresight to arrange for a train change from Chennai to Egmore station. And I was always very courageous, never looked to dangers. So before coming, I didn't know that Pondicherry is on seashore. And I had been to high mountains, as I was telling you, and other mountains, but I had never seen the sea. So one day I mentioned that my husband was doing his masters of engineering, and his classmates were one from each province of India or state of India, and one from each Colombo Plain country. It was quite a cosmopolitan gathering, and we used to eat in the mess. And there I blissfully announced, in Chennai, I will put my luggage in the cloakroom and take a taxi and go and look at the sea. I didn't know I will go by the side of the sea, or ashram is there. Then the class fellow, Mr. Babington from Chennai, they were horrified that this girl, my photograph which I showed you, it is of that time. She will go alone to Chennai, take a taxi. They sent our group photo to their brother-in-law in Chennai and gave me their photo, and they were standing at Chennai station with my photograph, and took me to their home, took me by taxi to Marina, and then took me by taxi to this another station which I named just now. No. Chennai, Egmore. Egmore is a long station, and there were 2 or 3 stone benches, and on one of them a lady in white with Gujarati sari style was sitting. I went and sat near her, and she was Vidyavati Kokil, the ashram Hindi poetess. I have read her poems. And then we sent back the escort, Mr. Babington's brother-in-law, and here Mr. Maheshwari's Radha was studying here, and they had written to Ganpat Ram, both of them, to receive me. So they told Radha, how will we recognize her? You come with us. She said, I had seen Shyam auntie only when I was 7, when we went to Gangotri. And I don't know, but I will come with you. So when they were waiting 3 on the station, and Kokilji stood on the doorway of the compartment and called out, Ganpat Ramji, here is Shyam Kumari. That's how mother saved me. There could have been, what could not have happened if I had taken taxi and all.
Then you stayed back here only?
No. 5 times I came.
Yeah.
So the husband allowed you to...
No, that time I stayed for 2 months and decided I will. As soon as I saw mother, I found everything what I was looking for. One look, I lived in its heaven. And I didn't even know about supramental powers, that one day all will be sky and God, and there will be the millennium or El Dorado, and there will be no disease, no poverty. I didn't know all this philosophy then. But once I saw her, then I decided. I lived here 2 months, and I took 10 hours work. I was fruit room work. Ravinji gave me dining room, fruit room. So much work is there. Because Espoir, the sister of Hero, had married Pearson. So in our city, ashram had a very bad name. That girls go there and they marry Christians. For love marriage, one crime, and married to a Christian, unpardonable crime in those days. So I was so careful that I should not commit any mistake. Nobody should reproach me, my family or my husband. So I just worked with Ravinji 10 hours, went to dining room, to playground in the evening when mother came, to the tennis ground to see her play tennis. Whole day passed like this. My son was not born then. No? And then I came in 60 thinking I am coming forever. Because I had written to Ganpat Ramji that asked mother, I want to come forever. Mother said, let her come, then we will decide. But I had written to Ganpat Ramji, write in a way, the answer should be such that my husband would not understand. If mother had said yes. Because if they knew, nobody would allow me to leave home. So he wrote, we want you to come in 1960 for the supramental manifestations first anniversary and bring a mosquito net with you. Then that I took as a consent from the mother, because guest house where I had stayed, everyone got a mosquito net. So this is I thought. But when I came here again, I lived 2 months, and then mother said, her heart is so developed, she is ready to take up yoga. But she needs more experience. So she sent me back. When I pleaded with her not to send back, she wrote me a letter which I will read to you. Which is with me, but which the dacoit store, but still the original letter is with me. With that, we will stop for today because
Yes.
it has been such a long session. So it should be one of the most important things. She gave me quite a... So when I wrote back, please mother, don't send me back. I don't remember what I wrote or I asked. She said, it is not from disgust for life and people that one must come to yoga. It's not to run away from difficulties that one must come here. It is not even to find the sweetness of love and protection. For the divine's love and protection can be enjoyed everywhere if one takes the right attitude. When one wants to give oneself totally in service to the divine, to consecrate oneself totally to the divine's work, simply for the joy of giving oneself and serving without asking for anything in exchange, except for the possibility of consecration and service, then one is ready to come and will find the door wide open. I give you the blessings given to all my children wherever they are in the world, and tell you, prepare yourself. My help will always be with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
And I hope you'll come again for another session.
Yes.
Maybe you can note things down that you would like to speak about, and we would be so happy to have you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.